What up, what up? Hope everyone is doing well. What a crazy time. We have a lot to cover here. Appreciate everyone for stopping by last night. That was a ton of fun. XP Market, good to see you. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I think I have all the facts straight here. Been watching this very closely, have a very good idea of what all the attorneys are saying. We're going to cover this as closely as possible so everyone knows exactly what is going on. Let me just make sure all the streams are set up properly. It's so funny that this all comes down to like the SEC's processes too, like literally confusing the entire market. Come on, let's get this fixed up ASAP. Guys, if you're getting here early, just take a quick second, drop a like on the stream. Mic volume, there we go. Got it. All right, there we go. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about here. So first, let's talk about what the market thinks. The market is obviously confused. I think the market right now is still under the assumption that the SEC is going to file this appeal. The SEC missed the deadline. There's no other way around it. The SEC absolutely missed the deadline. So in terms of like this whole thing about like, did the SEC miss the deadline or not? Anyone saying that the SEC did not miss the deadline is flat out wrong. I've seen too many attorneys, too many smart people come out and confirm that the deadline was last night. So the SEC missed the deadline. According to procedures, that should mean that the appeal is dismissed. According to procedures, that should mean the case is dismissed. But we don't know. We don't know what the court's going to do. We don't know how the court's going to react to this. So it's very possible that the court says, you know what, you're the SEC, we're going to cut you a break. I don't know. I don't know if the court's going to do that, right? That's up to the court. I stayed up till 3 in the morning on this thing. Yeah, guys, anyone who thinks it's the 14th, they're wrong. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, Ripple has already, everyone knows it was last night. Everyone knows it was last night. Hey, Zeus, that's incorrect, man. That's not how it works. Unfortunately, like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, that's just not how it works. It's not when, like, that's just incorrect. It's when it was filed. It was 14 days when it was filed. No, the holiday does not give them an extra day. The holiday does not, guys. Anyone who doesn't think it was last night, let me ask you something. Why do you think every single attorney, including Mark Fagel, a former SEC attorney, is saying it was last night? Like, I want everyone who's saying that it was. I understand that someone discussed it, but guys, a little critical thinking here, right? When you say someone said it, when you said someone said it, just take a quick second and think, who was that someone? Were they an attorney, or was it just some random account on X? Just sit down and ask yourself, was it an attorney, or was it some random person on X? Because if it was an attorney, then that's something you might want to listen to. If it's just some random person, anyone can put anything out there. So I want everyone saying that it's due Friday to take a look at what attorneys are saying. Fred Rispoli said it was due last night. Jeremy Hogan said it was due last night. Jerry said it was due last night. Stuart Alderati said it was due last night. David Schwartz said it was due last night. Anyone can come out and say whatever they want. You need to understand that unless there's an attorney actually saying that is Friday, then it's really hard to take that seriously. Just a little critical thinking on this, right? Just a little critical thinking on this. We can get there. Now, the question is did the SEC accidentally get the date wrong? That's the question that's more insignificant here. And what kind of leeway will they get for accidentally getting the date wrong? I don't know. That's the big question at hand here. That's the big question at hand here. I want to do a poll in a second. But guys, that's where it's at right now. Jeremy Johnson, thank you so much. Stuart Alderati said last night. Jeremy Hogan said last night. Fred Rispoli said last night. Eleanor Tarrant said last night. Look, it doesn't mean the SEC still can't try to appeal. It doesn't mean the SEC still can't try to appeal. But according to the documentation for the Second Circuit, that this appeal should be terminated. Guys, Stuart Alderati didn't get anything wrong. You want the poll? All right, we'll do a poll. That's the funny thing in here. Everyone's saying, how can Stuart Alderati have got it wrong? Stuart Alderati didn't get anything wrong, guys. That's the funny thing about this. It's like the appeal date was missed. There's no real other way to put it. The appeal date was missed, and now we're trying to figure out what that means. But it's funny. I see so many random accounts saying, "Oh, like it's this date," but are we really going to trust a random X account over what Ripple's legal team is saying? I think we have to put a little more faith in Ripple's legal team here, considering they are the ones who understand this process better than anyone. Daniel, good to see you, man. Oh, you woke up nice and early, huh? Good to see you, man. So here's the thing. So what's not up for debate, the SEC missed the deadline. I don't think that's up for debate. What's up for debate is if the SEC can get away with essentially saying, oh, sorry, we missed it, but here's the appeal. We're doing this anyway. That's the interesting thing here. That's what I don't know. I don't know how much leeway the SEC is going to get here in being able to pull something like that. I personally would be shocked if the SEC still didn't try to do something here. I would be shocked if the SEC still didn't try to do something here. It doesn't seem like to me it makes sense that the SEC would have let this appeal go like it did. It doesn't make sense to me. I said that in my video last night. But it's going to come down to what the court thinks. Like, it's literally going to come down to how strict the Second Circuit Court of Appeal is. And then the other question is, do we really think the SEC missed the deadline? Like, is it really possible the SEC will miss the deadline? I don't think the SEC did this on purpose. Filing this document should not have been difficult. I don't think they did this on purpose. I would assume that this is either something very strange happening or they made a mistake. This would be a huge mistake to make. This would be a huge mistake to make because, as Sherry put, and guys, I'll just read you the documentation. Like, yeah, it's guys, literally on the filing. Go read the filing. It says directly. Look at this. All right, let's take a look at this. This is what we're talking about. Literally right here. If you do not comply with these requirements within 14 days, your appeal will be dismissed. If you do not comply within 14 days, your appeal will be dismissed. So that's what we're going with right now. It's directly on the documentation that was the day to file it. Now, in terms of whether or not it is the date it's filed on or not, that was also proved. I can show you guys that as well. So here we go, guys. Here's the exact documentation. Here's another document. Once you have filed your notice appeal. Once you have filed your notice of appeal. So it's when it was filed. And everyone is saying that the file date was October 2nd. Anyone saying that it's up to the 18th, I want you to read the screen right here. Just read the screen for me. What does this say? Once you have filed your notice of appeal. Like, we literally have the document right here. They didn't file on the 4th. All right, I'll show you another document, right? It's funny how set people are on this. Look at this. It literally, look, this is the appeal, guys. It literally says it was filed on the 2nd. What do you mean it's filed on the 4th? You're looking at a document right here that said it was filed on the 2nd. What's the confusion here? It literally says on the document. It literally says on the document it was filed on the 2nd. How are we saying it was filed on the 4th? What? Look, filed 10/2. All right, ready? Yes, filed 10/2/2024. And now I'm going to show you something else. Filed 10/2/2024. Now, once you have filed your notice of appeal, You have 14 days. You have 14 days. If you do not comply with these requirements within 14 days, your appeal will get dismissed. Everyone's saying docketed. Guys, the rules don't say anything about it being docketed. It says right here, once you have filed your notice of appeal. This is like, I understand that people want to try to reinvent this process, but the docket has nothing to do with it. I don't know how to tell you. Chuck, read the screen. Where does it say anything about being docketed is the issue here? It says once you have filed your notice of appeal. It doesn't say docketed. It doesn't say that. There's only so much I can there's only so many different ways I can show this. It says right here, it was filed on the 2nd. It was filed on the 2nd. And you have 14 days since filing the appeal. The holiday situation doesn't play in here. The holiday situation doesn't play in here. Yeah, Tracy. Look, and the people who are saying it's the 18th. Look, the SEC can try to file this thing late. They can try to get the court to fix this up. It doesn't mean that the SEC still isn't going to try here. It could mean that. I think that would be rare. But it does mean that the SEC missed a deadline. Let me go through this one more time. Jeremy Hogan thinks the SEC missed the deadline. Stuart Alderati thinks the SEC missed the deadline. David Schwartz thinks the SEC missed the deadline. We'll leap. So, but now we want more information on what is going on at the SEC. So, literally on Eleanor's post, hinting that it could be the 14th, we literally have an former SEC lawyer saying that this is not what we're talking about here. The SEC attorney, Mark Fagel, literally comes in on Eleanor's post and says, this is incorrect. Oh, guys, I know it was yesterday. I know that I know it was due yesterday. Like, there's no debate about when it was due anymore. It was absolutely due yesterday. If people don't want to accept that, that's perfectly fine. If people don't want to accept that, that's perfectly fine. It was due yesterday. How the SEC responds to this is what's interesting, right? That's what's interesting anymore. It's not when it was due. Eleanor put out, I think Eleanor should delete this, but I'm literally just going to steal Mark. Check Fred Rispoli. Me? I'll check Fred. I mean, I don't think, even if they missed a deadline, I'm not convinced it's over yet. I'm not convinced it's over yet. Let's see what Fred Rispoli has to say. Okay, so this is interesting. This is interesting. So there's two different rules going on right now. And I think that's what's causing some of the confusion. So there's two different rules. It's either when it was docketed or when it was filed. And I don't know if anyone knows the answer. Fred said, good point. Rule says on notice being filed, which was 10-2, or unless the Court of Appeals designates another time. The SEC could argue new time created by docketing notice, assuming this is real. So I think we're just back to having so the SEC has to make an argument here. Yeah, I mean, I think it's 10-16 and the SEC is going to try to make an argument that they messed up. I think it's 10-16 and I think the SEC is going to try to make an argument that they messed up. Like, that's how I see it. I think it was 10-16 and the SEC is going to try to say, hey, like, we messed up. I don't see any other way around it. The only thing I see is that the SEC... Okay, guys, this is Taylor just dropped the home run. Look at the description on Court Listener. Look at the description on Court Listener. So, appeal. Here it is, guys. I don't know if it can be more clear than this. Take a look at the screen. Document filed with Securities and Exchange Commission are due in 14 days from 10/2. Here we go. Document filed by Securities and Exchange Commission, Form C and Form D are due within 14 days. Entered on 10/2. So this is directly from Court Listener. This is directly from Court Listener. Taylor just, it's clear as day. I don't know what else we can like speculate on here. It says right here, notice of appeal from 874, order of motion of summary judgment 974. Documents filed by SEC Form C and Form D are due within 14 days to the Court of Appeals Second Circuit, entered 10/2/2024. The key word here is within. It's not working days. $14 regular days. 14 regular days. No, it's not business days. It's regular days. So I think this is like the best we're going to get here. I don't know how we get better than this. This is Court Listener directly saying it was appealed on the 2nd, and there's 14 days since then, October 16th. So here's the question now. Here's the question now, because like that's the best we're going to get here. I don't know if we can get better than that. And Taylor, I'm going to post this just so people can see it. So the real question is can the SEC just do whatever they want? That's the real question. Defen, I saw that, Defen. I actually just tweeted out the same thing. And Brett has the other thing we just talked about. Appreciate you sending that over, Defen. So the question now is, can the SEC do whatever they want here? That's the really interesting debate at the moment. Let's see what people have to say. Should we do a poll on this? Do we want to do a poll on this? Poll? Okay. All right, let me spin up a poll. What should the poll be? Should it be, I don't want to do it on the date. I want to do, is it over or not? Like, I want to do if it's over or not. Liquid Ghost, we can't go through this again, man. I appreciate you, but the date is not tomorrow. We can't be going back to what the date is at this point. There's almost nothing saying that it'd be tomorrow. So So that's the question here. Is it over? Yes or no? This is fascinating. And guys, before I drop this poll, make sure to smash the like button. We have 1,200 people in here right now. Total of 3,000 people watching the stream. Only 200 likes. So there's 1,000 people in here who haven't hit the like button. Take a quick second to go do that. I really appreciate that. And we're about to drop the poll. And that, yeah, so the question is, is the SEC going to get away with making up their own timeline here? It's the only question I can see. Ripple execs should know. Absolutely. I mean, the Ripple's head of legal operations thought it was last night. Ripple's head of legal operations thought it. Everyone thinks it's last night. All right, I'll drop the poll. Poll dropped. Let's see what people say. Yeah, and guys, just so you know, because I saw someone post this earlier, absolutely never contact the court. Never, ever, ever do that. That is the best way to get yourself in some serious trouble. Never, never contact the court. Whatever you do, not do that. That is the best way to get this entire situation into a whole new mess. Jobless claims came in light, which is cool. Wasn't expecting to see that. Okay, so this is 50-50. This is 50-50. This is almost 50-50 right now on what people think. I am leaning towards it's not over. As much as I obviously want it to be over, I'm leaning towards the SEC going to come out at some point today and say, oh, well, we messed up. So, sorry. And then it's going to come down to what the court wants to do here. That's the biggest question that's left, is how the court responds to the SEC being late. It's not a good look regardless. It would be bizarre if the SEC didn't file this. Bizarre. King Cell, thank you so much. They even dropped the settlement, or they file on time and we just don't know yet. It just wasn't posted on the website because it's impossible that they would make a mistake this big. So that's a very interesting question. Could it be possible that the SEC made a mistake this big? It wouldn't be the worst mistake I've seen the SEC make. I mean, the SEC's made some pretty bad mistakes throughout this entire case. But there's no doubt this would be a colossal mistake. This would be their biggest mistake yet. SEC is watching the stream laughing their heads off. Yeah, that would, I mean, it's possible. So the other question is there an appeal that I mean, is there a settlement that happened? I mean, it's possible. Okay, guys, we just got another one. All right, guys. Metalaw Man is a former not a former SEC, a former securities attorney, and he becomes the latest attorney to say that the SEC missed a deadline. So as of now, there is not a single attorney who thinks the SEC made the deadline. So you guys might be following a Twitter account, right? You guys might be following a Twitter account that is saying something that makes it sound like there's more time for an appeal. But please consider that unless that person is an attorney, they probably haven't done the proper work to make sure that what they're putting out there is actually correct. So this is now another attorney. Ripple appeal update. Metalaw Man says, I could be wrong, but I believe the deadline for the SEC to file Form C passed last night at midnight. This is in confirmation with Stuart Alderati, David Schwartz, and every other single attorney who's looked at this. This is in combination with every other person who looked at this. He says, this could indicate a screw up by the SEC. That's what we've talked about. B, a technical glitch with the electronic filing system. That's interesting. That's something I have not considered. An electronic glitch or a glitch with the electronic filing system. That's something I have not considered. C, a decision by the SEC to abandon its appeal. Or D, an agreement with Ripple to drop both appeals. C, seems unlikely to me because an appellant SEC would almost never utterly abandon an appeal with a cross appeal has been filed without first reaching an agreement with the cross appeal appellant Ripple that they would also drop the cross appeal. Otherwise, the SEC would face the worst of both worlds, only downside exposure from the cross appeal. My calculation of the deadline follows from a recognition that the notice of appeal was filed on October 2nd. The filing date is what matters under federal appellant rules. Okay, so Metalaw Man is just nuking anyone who thinks it's the other date. He says right here, the filing date is what matters under federal appellate courts. Ramifications. If Form C itself says that a failure to file by the deadlines means the appeal will be dismissed, Second Circuit local rules. However, say the failure to file Form C by the deadlines means the appeal may be dismissed. Okay, let's do ramifications. This is the ramification part that's interesting. Is Metalaw Man a reliable source? Metalaw Man is one of the smartest attorneys out there. So Metalaw Man is a former securities attorney. He's a very, very good source. And it's, but no, I don't know if it's over yet because we didn't get to the ramifications yet. Can one of the mods boot Easy 2017? So let's see. Ramifications. The Form C itself says that failure to file it by the deadline means that appeal will be dismissed. The Second Circuit local rules, however, say failure to file the Form C by deadline means the appeal may be dismissed. Okay. So that's the thing here. That's the thing that's important here. Meta Law Man seems to think that local rules for the Second Circuit Court is going to let the judge decide here if this thing is going to get dismissed. That's the only way I can see it. So now we have to go back to the beginning here. Now we have to go all the way back to the beginning. Now we have to go all the way back to the beginning. So the question is did the SEC mess up or was there a technical glitch? Did the SEC mess up or was there a technical glitch? What are the chances that the SEC messed up? I don't know. The other thing is that there's an agreement between Ripple and the SEC. This is either some kind of start to a settlement or the SEC messed up. That's what we have here. The SEC messed up and could claim technical glitch. That's possible, but like I don't know if that's like that's a dangerous game, lying to the court. I'm surprised we haven't seen comment by Stuart Alderati yet or Brad Garlinghouse. That's what makes me think lean more into something weird going on behind the scenes here. Because like there's no reason at this point Stuart Alderati and Brad Garlinghouse wouldn't have, unless they're just, it's very possible they're just as confused as us. I mean, let's be honest here. It's very possible they're just as confused as us. They've lied to the court numerous times. Yeah, that's true. But this would be a tough thing to lie about because I'm sure the court would know if there was a glitch. I think they're in talks. They could be in talks. I mean, this is one of the things I speculated on. The SEC, a settlement makes sense. A settlement makes sense. Let me talk about why a settlement makes sense here. A settlement makes sense because the SEC has already dragged Ripple into the appeal. Ripple doesn't want to go through this appeal. So maybe Ripple, but Stuart Alderati was at Swell last night. So was Stuart Alderati settling cases when he was at Swell? Did he get a call? Sunshine meeting has nothing to do with that. Sunshine meeting has nothing to do with that. Oh, it's still up in the air for sure. Guys, this thing, it's still up in the air for sure. I've tried to make this very clear. Even if the SEC missed the deadline, we need the Second Circuit to come out and say something for whether or not it's over. The real question is did the SEC just miss the deadline, right? Is the most high profile case in crypto, is it possible with the amount of reporting and the amount of talk about this appeal, is it possible that the SEC actually could have missed that? Station C4, that's possible. That's possible, Station C4. It's possible the SEC didn't understand the procedure. That's possible. And that might be grounds for them to submit the appeal late. I would say in terms of the most obvious and easy explanation, that's it. John Deaton is on Scott Melker's channel at 9. Laura, thank you so much. It takes 5 minutes for the SEC to submit an appeal. Easy way for them to get $50 to $10 million on top of the $125 million fine. I smell a settlement. Also, Gary probably wants to win under his belt. So, Laura, I don't think I could have said it much better myself. I mean, that is excellently said. This is the case for the settlement. It takes 5 minutes for the SEC to submit an appeal. If they can get another $100 million for a 5-minute submission, why not do it? So that is an excellent way to put it. I think that's one of the most probable explanations here. I think that's probably one of the most probable explanations here. And then the other probable explanation here is that for some reason or another, the crappy attorneys at the SEC messed up. John Deaton is on Scott Melker's channel, so we're about to do a double live here and see what he's saying.
But I like to look at things through a subjective lens, and you just destroyed her.
Well, I mean, listen, you know, Senator Warren is obviously a talented, brilliant woman, and she's been doing this, ran for president and all those things. But when you have truth and justice on your side, it's hard to fail. You know, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, truth and justice seem to be less compelling motivations for voters in this country in 2024 than they were when we were kids. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, we saw that. We saw that at the first debate. I mean, at the end of the day, Senator Warren's argument was she's a Democrat. Vote for her. John Deaton's a Republican. And listen, it's a message that obviously in this divided world has been working. I think, Scott, we got to get back to voting for who the best candidate is in an election and not be so labeled and wrapped around, you know, Republican means this, Democrat means this. And here's the thing, Senator Warren, we know how she's going to vote on anything, everything. Her vote is taken for granted. I'm truly an independent thinker. And, you know, there's going to be issues like the abortion issue where I'll be caucusing with Democrats, I'm sure, if something arises. And then when we're talking about, you know, regulations and fiscal responsibility, I would caucus with the Republicans in my party. So, you know, but that was her argument. At the end of the day, she's a Democrat. Vote for her.
But not only that, so that was her argument for voting for her, but her argument for voting against you literally was he's lying and he's not going to do what he says. He's lying. He's not going to do what he says. He said, listen, I have 3 daughters. I'm pro-choice. I would never want them, you know, the government to interfere with what my daughters can do with their bodies. And she went on this tirade that said, yeah, but then he's going to get in there like every other Republican and he's just going to become pro-life. So vote for me. But her entire argument, again, I told you before, I was joking. I was like, make fun of his head or his beard, or you don't like his tie. Tell me something that you don't like about what he's actually saying or doing, not about some future projection of what he could theoretically do that has no basis in reality.
Yeah, I want everyone to think about that for a minute. How tragically sad is it that Senator Warren actually believes, listen, I held a I challenged her to debate me for 1 hour, a third debate just on women's reproductive rights, other women's rights that I referenced, it, the whole gamut, and she wouldn't do it. And she actually is going to take the position in this sad, political, tragic world that she lives in, that I'm going to have a press conference. I said, if it came down to it, like if it was the last straw, I would switch parties if it meant an abortion ban. I pissed off tons of Republicans. Some of them want to throw me out of the Republican Party. Then I get on stage and I look to the world and say, I'm pro-choice. I'm a freedom maximalist. I believe in the freedom of choice, right? And that doesn't mean I believe in late-term abortions and all that stuff. I'm just talking about a woman's fundamental choice during a certain period of time. And I said I would never betray my daughters. Senator Warren lives in a world where I'm lying, I'm pretending, and that I would go into the Senate and dishonor my word, my life, that I would betray my daughters. That is a sad, tragic world to live in. And that's why we need term limits, man, because they get in there and they just go wackadoo with that stuff.
Yeah, man, term limits for sure. This I have to just play this really quick because this just made me laugh. I don't even know if this is really if you really added this to the end or somebody else did, but I was dying when I saw this.
Look, people of Massachusetts know me. If John Deaton has a chance to go to Washington, he's going to be there to fight for crypto.
I'm John Deaton, and I approve this message.
I mean,
I didn't do that.
I know I didn't think so. I thought it was just a meme, but when I saw the ending of that, I was just dying because it just blows my mind that what one person can say is like the biggest negative against you is the thing that you wear as a badge of honor on your sleeve.
Yeah, well, you know, here's the thing. It's why I made the point, and everyone's got to think about this. Look at what we're facing, just real quick. We have illegal immigration. It's bankrupting Massachusetts because we have a right to shelter law, and it doesn't require residency. So any migrant that comes that's homeless goes into a hotel, gets fed, goes to school, all of that. It's bankrupting the state. You have a debt crisis. You know that better than anyone. We're falling off a cliff. We're paying $3 billion in interest a day. We have an opioid crisis, losing Americans. We have foreign wars striking up everywhere, and the world's going into chaos, and people are being priced out of the economy with inflation. But Senator Warren, the senior senator from Massachusetts, woke up one day and said, you know what? I'm going to run for re-election, and I'm going to build an anti-crypto army. With all those real world problems, why is she so focused on crypto? So I've been calling her the crypto candidate. You know, yes. Do I have my money invested in Bitcoin and crypto? Sure. But she thinks it's a bad investment. Fine. Don't tell the rest of us that we can't, and don't attack an industry. But I just don't understand why she's so focused. I would never understand it. And I remember, Scott, I was scratching my head. This is before I got in the election, was like, why would she be doing this with all those real world problems? And then she went on Chuck Todd and said, America's ready for a central bank digital currency. And then I go, she wants to control everything. I get it now. So
yeah, but okay. So first of all, you didn't know what the questions would be in advance of debate, correct?
No, I'm no Gary Gensler. Okay, yeah. I didn't have that opportunity.
She might have, you know, guys, that's probably not true. I have no idea. But so you had no idea that they were literally going to ask her about the anti-crypto army. I almost spit my drink when they said those words.
I was very surprised that John Keller, the moderator, literally quoted, anti-crypto army, and which that's why I explained my journey into Bitcoin with my mom and the fees and Western Union fees and all that stuff. But that's why I turned the focus onto her. And, listen, that anti-crypto army is her and Gary Gensler now, because Vice President Harris is now putting out, whether it's sincere or true, it's election year. We all need to take that into consideration on both sides, right? They're trying to get votes, but certainly Vice President Harris has repudiated Elizabeth Warren at this point in time. She's repudiated her anti-crypto army. She wants a reset. And so Elizabeth Warren is out there on an island with her and Gary Gensler with one paddle left. You know what I mean?
But what struck me about the question is you obviously gave the answer that you just described. We've heard you obviously give the crypto speech, which is genuine and just a part of who you are many times. But she played it off like it wasn't even real. This is what she said. I'm going to paraphrase. I don't have the quote, but she basically said, I think that everybody should be able to trade crypto however they want. Buy and sell anything you want. It's fine. I just want to make sure you have the same rules as everyone else. When she sat on the floor of the Senate with Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan and asked him canned and prepared questions with canned and prepared answers, where he said, if I was the government, I would ban it. And she said, yeah, right. Exactly.
That's right.
She's complete. Dude, I'm sorry. I know you're a politician. She's completely fucking full of shit. And it makes my head just want to explode. She sat there and said, I support crypto. It's fine. Buy and sell it. Whatever. I just want the same rules, and then can go and openly say this stuff should be banned and never touched by anyone in the United States. How do we let them lie so much?
Listen, Senator Warren, and I'll say this on the debate stage, respectfully, of course, and civilly, but she lacks a commitment to the truth. And that is a fact. You just said it. She got up there after literally proposing a ban. I call it the bankers ban on Bitcoin bill, right? Thing. It's the immigration, it's the inflation. Massachusetts is the second most expensive state to live in now. And so, I mean, people are really, really suffering. And so if you were to ask them the top 10.
I just realized I was muted for that entire thing. Of course I was. We'll get this right eventually. Guys, real quick, we're super close to 60K subscribers. Guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. If anyone's not subscribed right now and can take a minute to go subscribe, I would love to get to 60K today. Guys, thank you so much. I'm going to let this keep going. It's a great conversation. It's nice to see John Deaton side of the debate.
You know, she's going to continue with the oh, what do the crypto people want from Deaton? Because, you know, people donated to a super PAC or whatever, or a guy like you in the industry will get me on and support me like you have, which I appreciate immensely. And
you were doing this before you were even running.
Of course, we're just being Scott and John anyways, right? But I'll answer that question. If she keeps posing it, I'll answer that question. I won't give it now. I'll save it, right? But I'll give that answer to her if she keeps asking it.
Yeah, I
notice she doesn't answer any of my questions
ever,
right?
Like none of it. It really blew my mind. I have to ask you, actually, outside of the debate and the election, obviously, as you stated there, and everybody knows, you were a huge driving factor in the XRP decision. You obviously took that case on pro bono, won a number of awards for it. I played the clips yesterday, so I'm not going to be redundant.
Yep.
The SEC is appealing. Were you surprised? I mean, completely separate here, but I haven't gotten a chance to ask you about it. I remember Meta Lawman being like, they're going to appeal, and everyone else saying, no way, these guys are going to appeal. They've lost. But what do you make of the appeal now and the chance that actually they win? Yeah,
well, first, if there's a dispute, I'm going to go side with Meta Lawman and those kind of things. He's a pretty smart dude. And he's a friend and love him to death. But listen, it's just no more nonsense, right? And here's the thing that voters need to know. Judge Torres didn't apply the other factors, right? She just said, look, you didn't prove the third factor, which is rely on the efforts of others because of the affidavits we submitted and all that stuff. So she didn't answer the common enterprise question or anything. So even if the SEC were to take it up, and I don't think they will, but let's say they won, all that would happen is it would go back to Judge Torres and she would then apply the common enterprise factor. And I thought that was the weakest factor that the SEC had. And then she would rule again, in my opinion, that XRP is not a security and that the XRP holders who were acquiring it on exchanges wasn't a security. So it's a colossal waste of money, of taxpayer money, because it's such a fact specific decision. But for whatever reason, Gary Gensler, the SEC, probably Jorge Tenrero, who is like the chief prosecutor of this stuff, they just can't let stuff go. They can't take an L. Take the L and move on. You're supposed to be wearing the white hat, right? You represent the United States of America. Like, that should mean something to you. You don't have to win everything. You want to protect regular people. Well, regular people don't want your protection, all right, the way you're doing it. So honor your mission of protecting investors. And so they need to clean house, as far as I'm concerned, at the SEC, because I think some of these lawyers are literally unethical.
Didn't their head of enforcement leave? Like, I'm sure it was coincidence, but within 24 hours of that Ripple appeal coming out?
Yeah. And that's a guy that, you know, in Congress under oath, you know, misled. I mean, so, you know, good riddance to him. He was part of the problem. But listen, we all know that the real problem is Gary Gensler and my opponent, Senator Warren. And they're on that island. But when the vice president of the United States running for president repudiates her, when Donald Trump running for president says he's going to embrace the technology, you know, it's here to stay. And what everybody should look at, the debate the other night, Senator Warren was defeated, right? When I say defeated, I don't mean by me, by, oh, I don't care what you said, Scott. I don't care if people trade crypto. That is a complete 180. Now, it doesn't mean she's not going to be behind the scenes still trying to hurt crypto and hurt freedom and push for her central bank digital currency or whatever. But clearly, she's losing the war on crypto.
Yeah, and maybe she's just going to capitulate and pretend it never happened. Do you think that in this?
That's what they do. That's what they do, right? They like ignore it. I mean,
I'm against the banks, but all my money comes from the banks.
Well, I mean, maybe tonight she'll talk about another vote she did 10 years ago and avoid what's going on today, right? Remember, she's like, I voted for immigration reform 10 years ago. Who cares? And it didn't even go through. Like, what's going on about today? We need a senator today in Massachusetts.
Is there a chance that Harris wins, but Gensler is pretty much immediately ousted, even under a Democrat president?
Well, listen, I know that Mark Cuban is, kind of divisive with people in crypto because of the Trump versus Harris stuff. But listen, according to Mark, and I haven't had personal conversations with him. I mean, we've DM'd about other stuff, but he says that she wants a reset, and if she wins, and he certainly is someone, whether you like him or not, agree with him or not, is pro the industry. So you would imagine he said Gensler needs to go. Anthony Scaramucci is helping her. He says Gensler has to go. So when you have some of the biggest leaders who are supporting you, telling you this guy is a problem, and you're saying you want to do a reset, the writing should be on the wall that he's going to be gone at some point soon.
You know what I love, though, is that these guys who, I guess Cuban's a Democrat. Scaramucci certainly is not a lifelong Democrat, I think, as we know. They support Harris, but they still support you.
Listen, I have the thing that I'm really proud about is I have devout Trump supporters supporting me. Listen, some of my best friends are voting for Donald Trump. Some of my best friends are voting for Vice President Harris. We live in a divided world, man. But I have both sides saying, hey, I'm voting for Trump and Deaton, or I'm voting for Harris and Deaton. And I like that. I think that puts me on the right side of history.
She's obviously painted you from the first moment that you ran as a MAGA Republican, which was just, it's just hilarious. But that said, I know that's Massachusetts, so it's a bit of a vacuum. But if you take a look, even on Polymarket now, Trump's odds of winning here at 62%. Does 62% Harris at 38? This has gone up like 10% in 3 days or something, given this is a betting market. It's not necessarily polling. But how much does it affect your election in Massachusetts for senator, like how the tides are turning in the presidential election? I have a friend I've told you about who obviously he's a politician in Tampa, Hillsborough County. And he often says to me, he's like, literally, it's like whoever wins president is probably going to swing whether this county goes Democrat or Republican in my small election.
Yeah, not in Massachusetts. Listen, I think that President Trump has more support than people think in Massachusetts, but he lost Massachusetts by 33 points. So even if he did twice as well that he did 4 years ago, he would still lose by 16 points. And so a lot depends on turnout, and it works both ways. If a lot of Democrats, if they're blinded by the D and the R, and this is what people need to know. I've never been delusional, right? I've never pretended that this is, not an uphill battle. And I know people are citing the poll that shows me, down 20 points. Well, if all the voters know, I want you to know this, we did polling. If all the voters see is Democrat, Warren, Cambridge, right, Deaton, Republican, then yes, I lose by 20 points. But we did polling that if they only learn I was in the Marine Corps and I'm pro-choice, it's a single-digit race immediately. When they learn more about me and they see, wow, I'm like Charlie Baker, centrist, common sense, perspective, pro-choice, all those things, then it's really tight and competitive. And so for me, it comes down to getting enough name recognition out there. And so hopefully after tonight's debate, we'll see some polling that shows that the race has gotten much tighter. right?
Dave Weisberg and I were joking about this. You know, we're a bit older, so you probably remember the movie The Distinguished Gentleman. Do you remember that movie with Eddie Murphy?
Yeah.
Where the guy Jeff Johnson, the congressman in Florida, dies, and Eddie Murphy's name is Thomas Jefferson Johnson, and he just runs as Jeff Johnson, the name you know. The presumption being that people just vote for the same person they've always voted for without even thinking. They just look at the ballot and they go, "Oh yeah, I know that person's name," and they vote. How do you fight that phenomenon? Because she's been around so long. You got to figure a lot of people are just going to look and be like, maybe I don't know John Deaton. I know her name. Check.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Like I'll tell you this way: one, you're right, but two, she remember she ran for president. She came in third in Massachusetts. Bernie beat her, Biden beat her in her own state. So it's not like she's the most popular person. But I'll give you an example. When they were collecting my signatures to get on the ballot, you need 10,000 certified, which means you need literally like 15,000. People going to the supermarket and they would say, "Hey, John Deaton, former Marine, is running for Senate. Will you sign his ballot?" They keep walking because they don't know who John Deaton is, right? I've been a lawyer here, but they don't know me. And then they go, "He's running against Elizabeth Warren." Stop, turn around. All right, I'll sign his ballot. You know what I mean?
Everybody, like, it seems like nobody loves her.
No,
I'm sure there are people. I'm sure there's some, like, there's a Lazy Acres retirement home somewhere where they're all huge, Elizabeth Warren fans. But like you said,
I mean, listen, when I'm out on the parades and stuff like that, you run into here and there, but most of it is not so much about her, is that they view a Republican as an extremist, right? Like as someone who's pro-life all the way, someone who is, a climate denier, someone who is all those things. And so, but again, if I'm able to get the word out, I have lifelong Democrats that are voting for me, once they learn that when it comes to social issues, I'm moderate. I mean, the Globe said he's downright liberal when it comes to social issues, because, for example, when Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and Joe Biden and Barack Obama, they didn't support gay marriage. They supported civil unions. I was like, we live in America or not, man? Like, freedom is freedom. Like, marry who you want, love who you want. That was sort of my attitude. And so they were like, because of that, they're like, on social issue, this guy's, liberal. But I'm someone who says, at 35 trillion debt that we're walking off a cliff of, we really have to pay attention to that. The fact that we've printed 80% of all US dollars in the last 4 years, I mean, we might want to pay attention to that. Just maybe. And so we'll see. But Elizabeth Warren, she's never seen a spending bill that she doesn't like to support. And hopefully tonight we get into the wealth gap, because I really want to talk about that. As you know, someone who grew up so poor, we really do have a society of the haves and have-nots. But Senator Warren's policies actually hurt poor people in middle.
All right, guys, I have to jump. I have some good things I have to go take care of. Guys, if you can do me a favor, what I want everyone to do, if you want to keep watching this John Deaton thing right now, go over to John Deaton or go over to Wolf of Wall Street's right now and go tell him that Mickle sent you here. I want to blow up Scott Melker's live. I want to blow up his live with people saying Mickle sent me here. Big fan of Scott. I think he's a great guy. Okay, here's the news. Here's the news. Before I let you go, this is according to Eleanor Terrett. Heard back from the SEC this morning. According to a spokesperson, the appeal is proceeding normally and the documents will be filed publicly soon. So that's the word from the SEC right now. I have no idea what that means moving forward. They're late. They missed it. Can they still file? That's going to be up to the Court of Appeals. We just need to see what's happening. Guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you